I want to talk a little bit about not just the technology or the platform, but how the technology and how the platform enable different users to be successful. So historically, iPaaS tools that grew up in the legacy ESB space have been locked off from the rest of the organization and reserved for central IT. And that creates a backlog when you only have specialized expertise that can own and operate the platform. And at the end of the day, we know that a lot of business technologists who sit at the line of business level are the ones who know processes the best. So I don't think anyone knows the lead lifecycle process better than someone who works in marketing ops. So I want to talk a little bit about how we're using AI in our platform and how other platforms are using AI within their platform to make it easier to build automations and build AI-driven workflows. So Casey, I'll first start with you. What are some trends you're seeing in the market there? And what's worked in terms of AI assistance in different platforms to enable those business technologists to be successful?
Chris, you brought up a good point with that marketing example you led, and I think it even gets back to Jan's point earlier, with just how fast SaaS has come on. Where historically, what I see it's IT owning those systems, but now as we kind of shift to the business becoming more investing in the solution, owning it, and to your point, Chris, around like marketing knowing the process, it's how can we use AI to kind of marry like technical documentation on how we need to build within a platform, but me using a large language model to kind of translate that technical documentation into something that I can digest, again through prompting. And then also vice versa is, here's my process, what do I need to do to build a workflow? And then kind of flipping that use case on its head, where now I might not have what else to say coding expertise, but from utilizing a large language model, AI, I can now translate that my business requirements into technical requirements. And that, again, marketing user that you mentioned becomes more self-sufficient. We're reducing bottlenecks. We're taking that burden off of IT. And I'll kind of talk about that in a little bit as well. But we're able to move as fast as the business wants us to move, right? So again, if I kind of go back to that IT point, I'm not trying to say like IT is completely out of the picture, but it's, we have development standards that we need to follow, coding examples, things like that we can still ground that large language model with. So that business user, again, we're removing that bottleneck of, hey, we'll get it in the queue and we'll get to it when we get to it, like everything else. But it's, again, I'm able to move faster, and provided we've taken that approach with our AI strategy on, here's how we want to execute software development or workflow development. We can ground that large language model. So again, we still can keep control on the situation, but we're now able to move as fast as the business wants to.
There was an interesting point to what you said when you talked about documentation and distilling technical documentation into something that's more digestible for business users and more actionable in a way where historically that was segmented, right? Only IT could work within technical documentation and could work within a lot of these older legacy tools. So yeah, I know this is something that we've thought about at Celigo quite a bit and invested in pretty heavily. Can you speak to that a bit?
Yeah, let me start with your last point. So as you can imagine, various different users within a particular company come in and build workflows. Sometimes these workflows can be fairly complex. And then someone else comes in and wants to be able to understand what was done. What does this workflow do? So again, right, in this day and age, this is table stakes. And we built capabilities maybe a couple of years back to be able to describe these workflows in layman terms so that anyone can understand it. That's just one small example. But let me zoom back for a second. I want to go to the hypothesis we had when we first started Celigo. This was way back in 2015. There was this explosion of SaaS apps. And it became very clear to us that the industry needed, companies needed a next generation automation platform and integration platform that can straddle that line between a super technical IT type user, which, by the way, is our main persona that we sell to, but also be able to serve what I call the person who's close to the business problem, the person who has the requirements, who wants a certain business process automated. We have to let those individuals also be part of the process, whether they are maybe starting to build a flow and turn it over to their technical counterparts, whether they're building more simplistic flows because it's easy to use and intuitive and you don't have to get trained on the product, or especially it's the management of workflows. Someone else might build it, IT might build it, consultants might come in and build it, but you as the business owner, can you manage these workflows on a day-to-day basis? And so on that point, way back in 2018, we invested in AI to make it easier for our users to be able to manage these workflows, manage exceptions. Errors happen in integration, to make it as simple as possible, including some self-healing capabilities. Right, so that's the backdrop to now we get into AI. And of course, if our mantra was, how can we straddle that line between a super technical user and a business technologist? With the advent of AI, of course, we were like a bunch of kids in a big candy store, and we've been working really hard to build a set of agents in the product where moving forward, coming very soon, and literally in a few weeks, there's a big paradigm shift. You don't have to build, just like these days, for the most part, you don't have to code. You're going to use a tool like Cursor, and you're going to manage that. Cursor is going to be your developer, and you're going to be an architect. Using that same concept to be able to build workflows, to tell the system, be able to chat and say, this is what I want done, and for it to go ahead and build it. And I think Casey is the one who mentioned business requirements. I'll just give you a small example. It's possible that there's a document is put together on a set of automations that need to be built. That document can be fed into one of our agents and consumed, and there might be a dialogue back and forth. And ultimately that document, the requirements document, can be the blueprint to go build an entire automation, an entire set of orchestrations using AI, the co-pilots or the agents that we have in the product. So that's coming very soon, and something that I'm incredibly excited about.